Hello and greeting to all the people of the world. Today is 3rd of November 2010. There's been a couple of days of delay. I wasn't feeling very well. So in continuing my mission as an elder of Baha'u'llah, I shall explain and examine the Baha'i faith, which is the grandest theory of God about living on the planet Earth, through the eyes of science and logic, to the level of my understanding, of course. This is the first discussion really is the mother of all discussions and mother of all the questions, and that if there is a God or not, because from there the whole perspective will change, if there is one or if there isn't one. Today, if you ask anybody in the earth, anybody that has any idea, have read some books, to the greatest astronomers and scientists, if there is any other life besides the people in this planet, is there life in universe somewhere? Almost unanimously everybody says yes, there is, but yet there's no evidence for it. Very, very slim evidences, they say. Some amino acids might have come through somewhere through the space. But otherwise there is no concrete reason and evidence, there's no concrete evidence if there is life somewhere else. But it's just such a common understanding that no one can deny it, yet there is no evidence for it. In the same way, many people have just come to understanding that simply there is a God, and they don't need this kind of evidences. It's just they feel it. It's so common, such a common sense. If somebody was asking me about the existence of God, I remember sometimes ago in Thunder Bay when I was in 80s, my answer was to them that if you happen to go sometimes on our moon or the planet Mars, and all of a sudden on the surface you find a lighter. It's a lighter, a cup, some object, artificial. What would you think? Immediately you would say that there must be somebody else here. Before you arrived, there must have been some. If that simple structure like a cup or an evidence, like a lighter, becomes an evidence that there is a life, there's a maker for it, compare our body, our brain, to that of the lighter. Wouldn't you say that our body is much more complicated, a myriad times more? Isn't therefore an organizer, a maker, a God, someone who is superior and has put this structure together? This thing cannot come by chance. Even simple things like a cell, a structure of a cell, some biologist says if that could happen by chance, then you should say that a twister went to a junkyard and took the material out of the junkyard in the air and just assembled a 747 Boeing jet. If that's possible, then you can say it's possible that the cell, just the structure of a cell, it came by chance, by trial and error. But nevertheless, when it comes to opposition, they would go differently about this. They say we may not have many reasons to prove something, or there's overwhelming reason that there is God, but we examine, when we put it under a microscope, we really can't find God. Well, the biggest one of all basically is the philosophy of Marxism in late 18th centuries. developed by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. They built it based on the findings of Hegel. They essentially say that for something to be anything, an existence, a definition of something to exist, the word is to be applied to it, that thing has to occupy an empty space. They have three statements. They say planet Earth exists because it occupies an empty space. This house exists because it occupies an empty space. There has to be an emptiness where a thing can go in it. Secondly, they say everything has to move. And then thirdly, they say everything is in time. We have to get a better definition of time. Time is the measure of movement. From the time that something starts to assemble till the time that it decomposes, composition and decomposition combines and disintegrate, that is the time of things. When a motion takes place, that measure time from the time of inception to the ending, there is a measurement of time. That is how time, in my opinion, it means. It means just like a measurement tape. We just measure the two events from point E to point B. Therefore, time, it just comes with movement, with motion. If you want to move, it takes time. Therefore, they say everything is in time. Why? Because everything has movement. There's nothing that doesn't move. You know. The whole galaxies are moving farther away from each other. Within the galaxy, our galaxy, the arm of galaxies, you can see the whole galaxy itself revolves. Within the galaxy, our solar system moves. Sun revolves around itself, Earth revolves around itself, and rotates around the Sun. Within the Earth, you can see the structure of an atom, the smallest one. The electron moves around proton. There's nothing that doesn't move. Not just one movement, many movements. Everything has. So motion is a part of a definition of something to be. It has to move. That movement takes time. And a thing occupies an empty space. Then they ask literally, does your God occupies an empty space? We say no. Is this God in time? It means there was a time that it was formed. We say no. Does it move? We say no. They say, well, that's the definition of nothing. What you just said, it defines nothing. You're saying God is nothing. Therefore, there is no God. If it is not falling into these three parameters that define the being and existence, God in this definition becomes nothing, no existence. Therefore, they say there is no God. God is an idea. We'll just make it. If you tell them about love, they say, well, if you go to planet Mars, there's no love there because there was nobody there. There's no Romeo, there was no Juliet, there's no Shakespeare. There's no talk about life. And if you talk about emotions, they say, sure, it exists, but it is not like the old saying, mind over matter. Actually, it's not. It's matter that evolves in a form, complicated form like human being or animals, then they emanate motions or love or whatever. If you want love, you have to have matter, you have to have human. So-called spirit or metaphysics comes from physics, in their opinion. That's the consequence of the combinations of the matters to create that. And if you tell them God is invincible, they say, so is the matter. Matter actually doesn't die. It's just changed from one form to another. It can't make thing to be nothing. And God is infinite also. This universe is infinite. This is why people like Carl Sagan, late Carl Sagan, they say, yeah, there's God, but the whole thing altogether is God. God is an idea then. We make it, we improve it, we say this and that and that. This is what they say, and quite honestly, in my lifetime, as a curious mind, I have not found any conclusive answer to this by anyone. Myself, I always curious and thinking about this, even though I was a Baha'i. God, maybe more 15 years, I still did not have an answer to these questions elaborated by a fellow, I think, named George Polyester in one of his books that was in Persian when I read it. And one day I was in Cornwall, Ontario, and I remember a boy who just became Baha'i, it's maybe a few weeks. His name is Christian Gosselin. He says that, Abbas, you say that at the beginning the matter was there, but was that matter combined, composed? How was the first original matter? I tried to answer him,